Hi guys, Mira's here, Peter is with me, and because we did this kind of a talk before the conversation, and I thought it would be quite cool to do it again. So Peter, as you probably know already, has launched his website, and he's fidgeting with his computer right now, moving it around, which is a little distraction, but I won't pay attention. Anyway, so he's launched his computer website, and on the first page of the website, when I was looking at it, he is mentioning innate capabilities that we all have. And I'll try to list them all, but if I don't remember, Peter, just please fill me in. So it's creativity. What else? Resilience. Intuition. So creativity, resilience, intuition. I'll let you do it because
adaptability. I think you said resilience now. Focus. I call it ninja focus.
Yeah.
So really concentrate on something. Confidence, direction, things like authenticity, intuition, presence, connection, clarity.
Yeah.
You get the
yeah. So for me, what strikes me is connection, resilience, clarity, and intuition. So what you're saying, and what I also know, I mean, sometimes I know it, sometimes don't, but it's always there. That we actually have all those things. We just often think that we don't, and the problems that we are facing in our work, in our life, in our thinking, are the problems that are related to and actually are directly linked to us not seeing it, not understanding it, not knowing that it's with us. So can you just
so call it your default operating system. So when you're born, so think Windows, OS X, this kind of thing, but think of an operating system with no flaws. It's perfect in every way. It gets updates from time to time, but you could class it as insights, fresh thinking, that kind of thing. But it doesn't get corrupted, and it has the same power and the same strength from the very day we were born right up to present day. We're speaking now, and that's the thing. We just, as kids, we have all these things, and we bounce back, and as we get older and older, we get conditioned by outside factors, things that adults tell you, other people, life in general, and we just forget it, but they're always there. And as soon as you can tap back into this default set of what I would call superpowers, because they really are superpowers. I mean, they're really powerful. So think about creativity as an example. Most people say, for example, I work with a few people who are from a corporate background, but then one day I'll be working with creatives, people who are musicians, that kind of thing. The non-musicians or these people perceive themselves as non-creatives. They say to me, but I'll never be creative because I'm not an artist. But they're just missing the point. Creativity is at the core of all humans. It's part of us. So, for example, people apply creativity in different ways. How they're creative with the family, how they bring up the kids, how they deal with the boss, how they deal with the work, how they manage people. The list goes on and on. We have creativity at our core, and everyone has the same amount of creativity and that same power. You just realize you tap into it.
Sorry?
You've just got to realize that once you're reminded to look in the right direction and you realize that you have it, then it's a really powerful thing, because you can rely on this in everyday life all of the time, 24/7, every day. So for example,
So that's really interesting, because you just reminded me of something. So creativity is not, I'm a creative person because I do arts. Creativity is our ability to solve problems, overcome difficulties, deal with everyday life all the time. How do I stitch this broken sock, or whatever. It all involves creativity, and creativity is also really important when you do something for the first time. It's how do you think of a solution or next step and all of that. So creativity isn't you being an artist. It's actually ability of all of us to deal with everyday life. So once we know that we have it, once we realize that we have it, and what it actually is, it becomes much easier to go into uncertain situations, do things that we would be scared otherwise, because we know that we have the innate ability to solve problems that come as they come.
And if you don't see yourself as an artist, or that kind of, if that's how you would think about creativity, think about when you're going into a new venture, you could be starting a new home business, self-employed, starting a company, all of that. Think of the creativity or creative part as maybe experimenting. That's what I'm doing now. I've just launched, finding my coaching business. I've been coaching people for many years, but I've never,
never had a website.
So this was a big thing for me. But a big part of the journey for me, and why I really, where you can really have fun, is the experimental part. When you try things for clients, or how I'm going to be visible. So I might classify that as marketing. I do a lot of experiments. And, a lot of these things aren't going to work, or I'll get feedback, that's amazing. Or, people might say, didn't really understand that. So, that's my creative brain kicking in. That's the creative core. So you just experiment, and, you can apply that to anything in life.
Yeah. And also I think big part of it, I mean, it's really interesting, but resilience and creativity and intuition, for me now as you speak, maybe probably other things as well, but these three things at the moment, they look as one. Because resilience is your ability to bounce back after you fail, but without creativity you wouldn't be able to do that. So it's pretty much the same.
Well, think about it from, they're different things, however, they're all connected, and they're all from the same source. But this is the thing. When you mentioned innate capabilities, we've just kind of listed them. So, it's clear for people what kind of things we're talking about. And there's probably other things we haven't even mentioned. They're all connected because we can draw on them always. Like I say, they're always there. They're switched on, can't be switched off. They've got the same power all the time. You are literally just remembering that you've got them. So, for example, one day you might need to be resilient because you're going through a particular challenge. So then your resilience kicks in. One day you need to problem solve your way out of something in work. That's when your creativity kicks in. Or you might need to focus on a particular problem, and that's when you need this ninja focus, like really focused laser beam, really looking at something and thinking, right, how can I resolve this? So you're right. I mean, they are separate, but they're all connected. You can't have one without the other. That's the cool thing. There's lots of people, I felt for many years that I'm super creative, but why do we not have other areas? Why am I not so focused, or why can I not adapt to these things? But I would argue that if you're really creative, you have to be adaptable. If you're really adaptable, you have to be creative. The same thing with resilience. They're all completely connected. You simply cannot have one without the other. I mean, a good example as well is look at these, people who we perceive as being really, really famous people who've done really well with their lives, and we look at them and think, wow, I want a bit of that. I know I keep mentioning to you about people like Steve Jobs, these kind of people. It's weird because so many aspects of their lives, they've got certain things in abundance, creativity, this and that. His intuition in terms of, what he did with Apple, and he went through a lot of challenges, so he's obviously resilient. But then in his personal life, it was pretty much a shitstorm, a bit of a disaster. But again, the power of knowing you have these innate capabilities is that you might be a successful CEO or an entrepreneur, or you might be a successful parent, might be doing amazing things with your kids, but then you're thinking, wow, there's something else. I really don't have the confidence, or I'm not creative enough or adaptable enough to set up a business. But I would argue that the very same things that give you success in one area of your life will give you the very same things in these other areas, where you perceive that you don't have them.
Yeah, it's just that, again, it's that learned. It's something that, so where we are focusing, where we are good at, we just think it's natural, and where we perceive the area of our life where we perceive that we are not good at, or we think we need more of that, but we actually have it. We just need to realize that. So when you work with people, when you coach people, what do you typically see as a change? What changes? What they notice in their lives that is different?
With the people I'm working with, it's when they get the fresh thinking. So typically a person might come to me and say, I really lost my creative flow. I can't make music anymore, or I'm a worthless artist, this, that, and the other. I simply remind them, I point the light back in that area that they have that by default. And also, for example, for creatives, it's quite a universal problem where you can get what we might call writer's block, where you just think, oh my God, I give up. I can't make music anymore, or I can't really work on this project anymore. I'm a worthless artist. Why can't I, lots of feelings and thoughts come into play. But, literally that's just thought in the moment. It's okay to have these things, but also you don't need to fight it. You just have to accept that it's just a feeling that you have in that moment. And then also you just need to relax. So if it's not working, for example, I can say from my own personal experience as a musician, I used to bang my head against a brick wall when I couldn't finish a project. I would get lots of anxiety, a lot of fears. I would, this, I've said this in the past, that, I'd even sold bits of studio equipment, threatened to close down the studio, this, that, and the other. But then, funny enough, as soon as you stop to overthink it and clear your mind, and you go and do something else, make a cup of tea, and it doesn't always happen straight away. Sometimes you can be completely blocked, and you might need to go off and do a completely different activity for hours, days, even a week sometimes. But
or maybe even months or years. I mean, I've heard of people that were working with you that didn't work for years, and then they started.
Yeah, and actually, so what I'd recommend, or what I always recommend, is look, I know it's really important, and you can't tell someone not to, you can't tell them to switch it off. So I get them to look in a different way, and I just say, look, consider the possibility that you always do have the answer, you always did. It's just that because of this overthinking and, what I might classify as contaminated thinking, and having all these feelings and thoughts, and they're going around in a loop. I am worthless. I'm not an artist. I'm not as good as, you're comparing to other people. I can't make, I can't, if you're a writer, I can't write or finish this book anymore. I can't even finish the chapter. And it's just doing this loop around your head. As soon as
you start believing it's true, it becomes a story that you're telling yourself.
Because these feelings are really powerful. Thought is powerful. This is how we see the world. thoughts come into play, and then,
So you basically, what happens is that people, while they're working with you, are starting to change the story.
Yeah, so I would say, get them to look in a different area, or get them to I get them to reframe the situation. So you're telling me that you're stuck and you're worthless and you don't want to make music anymore. What if it was to tell you that you have, by default, enough creativity and resilience to get around this dark period, where you don't feel like you're going to produce the goods? And I get them to understand that the pressure that they're applying to themselves is literally coming from the inside, and it's not something that's an external
their
factor.
own pressure, and they have control over.
Yeah, and I've done this for many years, and I wish someone had told me a decade ago that this is something I've created myself, and this no one else has given me the pressure. So I do a lot of
and
exercise.
Pressure doesn't come from music or the project.
Yeah. So a lot of the times it's really just listening to that artist or the person about what it is that they perceive they're getting stuck with. And I need to be really clear on what it is. And then I also get them just to relax. And actually, it can be difficult because some people are like, really? And I'm like, yeah, why don't you just forget about the project for a bit? Go and do something else. And then I'll ask them, so what else do you like doing? And, I've had people say nothing. Okay, whatever. But, even if it's like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything else, go for a walk, go to the gym, go for a run, go and see a friend, go to the shop, anything at all, just to break this cycle. And then funny enough, when you do this stuff, by doing another activity and just stopping this, habitual thinking, this loop, all of a sudden you start getting fresh thoughts. And where you were really, trying too hard to, find a solution to this perceived problem that you had, as soon as you just let it go, in the weirdest of times, you could be on the toilet, you could be in the gym, lifting weights, sweating it out, doing whatever, even having sex, whatever.
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah. But, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden, dink, you get this light bulb moment, or, what I would say, fresh thinking or insight, or whatever you want to call it. And then you're like, shit, why have I been smashing my head against the wall? There you go, there's the answer. Annoyingly for me, I get it, in the middle of the night, and then I end up having to get up, put the light on and type, write notes and stuff like that. So it'd be cool if you could completely control when you get these insights, but sometimes, you can, sometimes you can't. But the cool thing is,
it's like as if it's not really coming from you, no? But the more you relax, the more you relax the more you relax. When you relax, it means that you're thinking less. Yeah. And then when you're thinking less, those ideas actually have space to come out for you to see them.
Yeah, and also in terms of how the application of creativity as well, everyone has very set, different views, quite fixed in some ways. For it differs from individual to individual. But for example, I would go in and have a very fixed view of what I was going to do musically when I was making music, and then if it didn't happen, I would beat myself up and get lots of stress and anxiety. And then I would really hate the whole process, and then probably not finish it and give up, and then go out or go and do something else.
Somebody just posted in a Facebook post where I was talking about something similar. She said, I don't. What was it? I don't seem to get where I want to be, and then she realized she's probably not very patient. And then she gets frustrated and everything. Yeah, that's exactly what you're explaining. Yeah.
I mean, every artist, depending on what you do or any creative endeavor, there's lots of different ways. The application's different.
But this applies to entrepreneurs because they have to.
Yeah, it applies to anything. What I'm saying is, I don't really coach people on the application of how they apply that creativity. I can do. It really depends on what they're wanting, but usually people are coming to me with a very universal thing because, and like you say, it crosses every discipline. That they kind of get stuck, and then they don't feel like they've got any creative energy left to work on things. So, it's different depending on what the person wants and, getting to the bottom of what they perceive as where they're stuck. But a lot of it's around, I give them suggestions around, what if, what if you were to have a bit of a break, where do you think, a lot of the times I'll ask them where do they think creativity comes from, and then they get it. And that's it. They kind of get an insight as to, maybe I need a break now, or I can just stop. And then days, weeks, sometimes months later, I'll get a text message saying, okay, wasn't really convinced, but there's something in it. I've just gone off and written an EP now. That's really cool. And then, it's usually when they let go. And again, if you're really good at what you do, you've obviously got to have a structure around it. And again, just to be clear, everyone works different. So I'm not going to tell people how to do that. But most people who are very good at their craft go into what we call flow. It's got many different words for it, but this for me is where, time for me is a concept. It's something that us humans have created. How many times have you gone and done something that you get really into, whether it's writing, working on your website, making music, whatever it might be, and then all of a sudden you look at the time, you're like, wow, I feel like I've been down there for weeks or in that moment. But then it could have been an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is. It's almost like time wasn't relevant. It just stopped. And you were just there in that moment, really connected with that activity. And a lot of the times, well, actually all of the times when you're in flow, your mind is clear, completely clear. You're just doing.
Like right now.
That's why I paused.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, and when you tell people this, they're like, "Oh, okay," but you can't. You can only help someone in terms of pointing them in the right direction. I can't tell them how to do that. That's the thing. It doesn't work. But where it's really powerful, if you give them that insight and just give them that possibility that there's another option, and then they go and try it. And that's where the real power is, where you get the feedback afterwards and they're like, wow, yeah, okay, now I see that. And also, I'm a big believer in having a break between things as well. Of course, if you make music for a living or you've got a deadline to meet, time is money. I get that. But lots of people who I know don't really have the deadlines, and they have the luxury of being able to, work on things when they need to. And a lot of the guys I work with, people I work with, they usually have day jobs as well. So they've got, a fair bit of income, and they're lucky enough to be able to create in their spare time, or they juggle between part-time, full-time jobs, etc., etc. So they're in this unique position where lots of the times it's not paying the mortgage or the rent or putting food on the table for the family, but they're still busting their head, really getting stressed about it. So then I say, give them the option that, what if you just have a rest? It could be a week, it could be days, it could be a month. And as you said before, it can be even a year. I've had a break from music for over a year sometimes, and then I've come back and it's been amazing.
And every time you come back, it's totally different.
Completely different, yeah. It really just depends on it. And, I'm not saying you have to do that. There's people who...
But this is what I understand you're saying is that you're not really suggesting, oh, you do this now. People are actually coming to those realizations themselves of what's the best thing for them. It's like their intuition kicks in, and tells them what to do. Yeah.
And the only way I can trigger those insights with people is really just to have a conversation with them, and it's for me to be as clear as I can in terms of what I perceive as being the sticking points. And then it's just having that open conversation. What do you think you can do? What and again asking the obvious questions. So what happens? So it's good to talk about where they're stuck, but what I do is actually take the light off the negative feelings and the anxiety. And then I always ask the person, the creator, the creative, you know, especially if they're an artist, I'm like, so what happens when the good shit happens? What happens when, you know, you
Yeah,
work
get examples. Yeah.
and you're just on fire and everything turns to gold. So can you remember that moment? And they're like, yeah. And you sit there, they smile and they relax, they sit back a bit. And I'm like, okay, so where do you think that comes from? And then that's kind of where I chip away at it. That's where the power comes in, because then they're like, oh yeah, you know. And I say, well, you know, it never goes away. You just forgot that you had that. And then I'm like, so what have I told you that it's always there? That feeling that you've just had. And, you know, I got goosebumps because I could see the person.
Yeah.
Their face just softens. They start to smile and they're like, yeah, I remember this, that creative power, the flow. And I'm like, okay, so you know that feeling? Yeah. Okay, so what if I was to tell you that that's never gone away? And just then you've just tapped into it just by thinking about it. And then I shut up.
Yeah, and then the realizations.
And then it's all done for themselves. That's the thing. That's the, you know, you can only learn that.
I remember in the past I was using lots of techniques because I thought I had to, and then I was telling people to do lots of things, like, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, because when it worked, it came as a natural understanding of that person that could help them, you know. But when it didn't work because there was no, you know, there was no natural understanding of, you know, it didn't come from that person. It came from me, it came from, you know, from whatever book. So there is this huge power of insight into what is our problem really, and where is solution, and we have that solution. We have that comes from us, you know, and that problem probably isn't really a problem, you know, but it's I mean, once we see it isn't really a problem. So once you see
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but it seems so real. I mean, you know, this is the power of thought. We can materialize anything we want and believe it's reality. This is how we are. We're built for reality. But the way we see that reality is internal, you know. We're all in our own little, you know, we have our own little VR system. So, you know, as I'm looking at you now, this is just my version of me looking at you on Zoom. And vice versa. I mean, and it does bend your head a bit when, you know, when you're told that. And, you know, anyone who tells you that they don't have days where, you know, they can't see the wood for the trees, they're lying. We all have that. It's just that when you realize how, you know, 100% of the time it works, then, you know, it's just easier to pull yourself out. But, you know, we all have days, you know, you get up and you know, you're getting feelings of anxiety and you don't want to do this and that. But as soon as you realize it's just thought at that particular moment in time, you know, it dissipates, you can park it and you can carry on and you can work and do what you want. You know, I think the issue with a lot of the ways that therapy works and a lot of the things we've been told in the past is, you know, if you get angry or you get anxiety, you must fight it. You must, you know,
change it.
Yeah, you must change.
You're not a good person.
Yeah. Or you're a victim of your circumstances. It's because you were born like that, and all this other bullshit that people feed us. And you know, it's not that people have been evil. People really believe that until, you know, recently.
Until they see a different thing.
Yeah, or they see it for themselves. But you know, the cool thing is, you're only one fresh thought away from changing anything at any time. Doesn't matter how stuck you feel, or, you know, I've seen people stuck for decades, and then they have, you know, they have this insight because someone's helped them shine the light, you know, back on, you know, what they should have seen, you know, 10 years ago. And it's amazing because then they're like, wow, okay, why didn't I see that? And it doesn't matter, but this is the thing, you know, once you get it, you get it. there's no point in rewinding back, because we can't, we don't have a time machine. We can't go back to the past.
And all your experiences that you had in past, however painful and maybe bad they were, they are, they are your strength in a way that you build up from there. I wouldn't be probably doing the things that I'm doing as good as I am if I didn't have an understanding of pain and suffering and sadness and all of that. I wouldn't be able to work with people because I wouldn't understand that. So, as painful as it was, is something that makes me, and there's nothing wrong about having a painful or whatever past, or dealing with problems in projects again.
I would say embrace
everyone. Yeah.
I mean, we've all had ups and downs in life, some more than others, and also there's no point in comparing, because we've all had very different lives. Doesn't matter where you're from. Even the same people that live in the same streets, same family, again, they've had different lives. But the fact that you're still here, breathing, talking, living, and that's what I tell people, because they're so stuck in the past. I'm saying, well, there's nothing wrong with that. It's why you're strong. It's who you are right now. But you're only as good as the next thought that pops in your head. So all of the stuff in the past, there's nothing wrong with learning from it and embracing it, and looking at your history, and you can reminisce and stuff like that. But it doesn't define you. You are what you think at any moment in time, if that makes sense. So like I say, when you see people have an insight, and you get it yourself. I had one this morning in the gym, and I was like, wow, okay, that's interesting. And that only happens though if you can just have a clear head. And it happens all the time. You can't switch it off, but you just convince yourself that it's
even when you don't realize it.
Well, how many times have you? I speak to many people recently, even my peers, other coaches, and they're like, wow, I can never remember my insights. I have an amazing eureka moment, and then less than an hour later, shit, I can't remember. But that doesn't matter, because we always remember, it's there. But also, we have insights. We're an insight-making machine. That's what we're built for. So there's not really anything to worry about if you can't remember the insight you just had 5 minutes ago, because you can have as many as you want going forward. You just have to create the conditions for it. And the conditions are quite simple. You just have to be doing something and not overthinking. Or again, and it takes a while to get your head around having a clear head, because
exactly, because we're
so the digital age. I mean, the problem is, when someone said to me, you need to have nothing on your mind, and I'm like, fuck, how do I do that?
Can you have nothing on your mind? Like, is it possible?
Well, yeah, there's always things going in, but you're just letting go of those thoughts.
You're not getting attached to them.
No. So think about when you meditate, things still enter your head. You still get feelings. But then the more you do it, the more you just let these feelings wash around. Another example is, when people say, really listen. We all think we're good listeners until, someone points out someone external from you. That, if you're listening with nothing on your mind, then you're really deeply listening and you connect with someone. But how many times have we listened to people where we're thinking about what we have for tea, what we're going to have for our next meal?
Or what did he mean by that?
Oh my God, I'm going to get a parking ticket. Anything that goes through your mind.
Yeah, you're listening your own thinking,
Yeah, but as soon as you have a clear mind, and you're still going to get things floating about, but if you're really listening to that person, then you have this deep connection with them.
This is when shit happens. Or somebody wrote it, shift happens. I don't know who.
Shift, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what I've noticed, and you know, I think it's universal again. You know, when I was in the past, when I was working with people, I would work with them on one problem, because they come to you with the kind of one problem. And then, you know, I'm stuck about this and that, and then you work on that, and then before, I don't know, it would just stay on solving that one thing. You know, it might change certain things. So there are other things in their lives slightly, but, you know, they might be aware of it or not. But since I understood that you don't have to be solving one thing, but you can you can go in and help people to understand how the mind works, how the thinking works, how the feeling works. What are they? What does it mean? What it doesn't mean. It creates a shift all over the place.
Yeah, totally agree. So, you know, we've talked about this before. I was talking to, I can't remember who yesterday, and, you know, I keep saying problems are universal. So the problem of the mind, this cloudy thinking that, you know, these feelings, well, thought that's going ahead and it's about something external, but it's actually, you know, it's generated internally. And this is universal for anything that people are stuck with. You know, there's two things. They've got this cloudy thinking, and then the really powerful thing, if you can, you know, give them insights around it, is that, you know, going back to this list of superpowers that we have. So, you know, you have someone who's like, I give up. I really can't deal with my boss. You know, he's a bully, this and that. Haven't got the resilience to be able to deal with him. I don't know how creatively I can get round, you know. And then you realize that, you know, it's a universal thing. So there's two things that can happen. Like you say, they have an insight around the way the mind works, which is really powerful. And then helping them to realize that they have all of these abilities, you know, these innate capabilities. And like you say, sometimes you can work with someone in one particular topic or area, but because it's a universal way of looking at it, it can resolve many things in their life. You know, you can see people have a shift and it can change their lives.
Yeah, it changes relationship and changes. Yeah.
Exactly. So they come into, you know, stuck in one particular area about, you know, why can I not stay in relationship? And then all of a sudden it spills over into the job, into the, you know, the career, into their, you know, all aspects of the life. Because that's the thing. Once you've kind of got it and you keep getting insights, and, you know, it takes a bit of time, but once you start looking in that direction, it's really, you can't go back.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times you have had a client come back and say, wow, I know I came in to talk about this, but then I've just had this amazing conversation with my mum. I didn't speak to her for like 4 years and this has happened. You know, and then they just, you see them really animated and the big smile on their face.
Yeah.
Like you say, kind of spills over in a positive way into many different aspects of people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah, because we start perceiving problems and solutions to those problems in a different way. Yeah. So can I just ask you one thing? Why do you do this?
Why do I help people?
Yeah.
Well, one thing is because I really get a buzz off doing it. Being able to just, you know, I love getting insights for myself. So seeing other people realize how the mind works and then being able to apply that, you know, in real parts of the life. So things they can touch, and then results I can actually quantify, you know, by them giving me feedback or coming back or just speaking to them in the next session. It's amazing. And also I think back, why did I get into it? Is because, yeah, I mean, it would have been great for me to have people like that to rely on. You know, I know I've said this quite a lot recently as well about having a mentor and having a coach. A lot of people see it as, you know, oh, I need a coach because there's something negative going on. But I have many mentors in my life and coaches at any one time. You know, some of them coming in and out of my life and for many different reasons. But even when I think things are firing on all cylinders and it's really positive and, you know, I'm really getting on with projects and things are, you know, all in place, you know, could say all your ducks in a row. That's probably the most important time when you do need a mentor and a coach just to keep things ticking over. I think it's a really powerful thing to have. Just a shame most people go to someone, you know, therapist, coach when they're really stuck or they're really in a really low place, you know.
But better than never anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not.
And I think back, you know, as a musician and as a DJ and, you know, first went into the, you know, employment after school, if I'd had someone I could have gone to as a coach who could have pointed me in these kind of directions, I just realized it would be really powerful. And that's why I got really interested in it, because if I can help people, then it's a pretty amazing job to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's a connection. I don't know, when I think about it. It's, yeah. It's sharing what you know that connects you more with people, and connecting more with people means connecting with yourself. To me, I mean, it's different for everyone. Yeah, it's just deepening that connection. Anyway, okay then. I think it was a really good. I actually don't know how long we were.
No idea.
I think it's less than an hour. I think. But it's been a really good conversation about.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So I think we should do more of these in the future.
Yeah,
Okay,
we can do. Yeah, I'm quite happy to do it. We just have to pick a topic and then, we can.
Okay, well, actually, what we can ask people as well is to maybe suggest topics that they would like to hear about, or problems.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Maybe put it to the group, just say, you know, any particular topic. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Or a problem that, you know, that they're facing, or repetitively, or whatever, something that I would like to hear from or about. Okay, great. Then I'm going to say goodbye. Goodbye, everyone, whoever is listening, whenever is listening. And we are going to speak again soon. I hope you enjoyed it. I did.
Great. See you later. Bye.
Bye.